Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall is a featherweight known for his grappling first approach in fights. He used his world-class jiu-jitsu to chase submissions non-stop and often pulls guard, looking to draw opponents into dangerous positions. Though it's been proven effective in some of his fights, the style gets criticism for its perceived stalling. In his most popular fight against Ilie Topuria though, his unique style was exposed. Ryan Hall was relentlessly rolling and diving, trying to engage with Topuria on the ground. But at the end of the very first round, Topuria got top control and knocked Ryan Hall out with ground and pound. Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira is a middleweight that has become widely known for his theatrics inside the octagon. At times he does backflips on top of his opponents, cartwheels and flying knees that make his fight style very unpredictable. The surprising part is that even with all of his crazy moves, he actually went on an 8-fight win streak. Pereira proved that he was not only a good showman, but actually a solid fighter. But as he reached top-level competition, his explosive style caught up to him. In his fight against Anthony Hernandez's pressure wrestling heavy style was too much for Michel Pereira, resulting in an end to his 8-fight win streak. Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie is similar to Ryan Hall in the sense that their styles both heavily rely on jiu-jitsu. Kron Gracie is a member of the Gracie family, so it's not much of a surprise that he uses jiu-jitsu, except he only uses jiu-jitsu. The difference between Ryan Hall and Kron Gracie though is that Ryan Hall was actually working on his striking and was much more effective with submissions than Kron. In Kron's most notable fight against Bryce Mitchell, on multiple occasions, he would pull guard and just sit there doing absolutely nothing. Each time he pulled guard, the crowd got angrier. But in the third round, Kron's guard pulling attempt went horribly wrong. Bryce Mitchell slammed Kron on his head, knocking him out instantly. Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka is probably the most widely known weird, unorthodox fighter in the UFC. He fights with his hands down in a super squatted stance, and he throws from very unusual angles. He throws from his hips, and he relies mostly on his head movement to avoid punches. He does not keep his hands up most of the time, and when he fights, you can always expect something new. In one of his most popular finishes, he knocked out Dominic Reyes with a spinning back elbow, and he's one of the fighters on this list who's actually proved his weird style effective, winning a UFC title and having multiple title shots. Dricus Du Plessis. Dricus Du Plessis is probably the pinnacle of unorthodox fighters, and he's one of the most successful fighters. He's proven that you can have a weird style and improper technique and win fights and become champion even. DDP, like Jiri Prochazka, throws punches from very odd angles. He lunges in towards his opponent, and his techniques go against all the traditional rules of striking, but he makes it work. There's plenty of memes about Dricus Du Plessis because of the fact that he's had so much success with such a unusual and honestly kind of ugly and sloppy style. Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's a UFC light heavyweight who's known for his unpredictable style and also sheer athleticism. He uses plenty of flying knees and wild techniques, but not only is his style weird, but everything about him's weird. Johnny Walker has been knocked out multiple times, and each time it's some of the most goofy knockouts you'll ever see. At one point in his career, people thought he was gonna beat John Jones, but now after plenty of losses and goofy knockouts, it's hard to make that argument. Michael Venom Page. MVP is a top fighter in the UFC, and he's known for his striking, and his striking is quite unorthodox. He fights with his hands down. He's extremely explosive and lunges into opponents, and so far, no one's figured out the puzzle of Michael Venom Page. Even at his older age, he's extremely explosive, he has super quick reflexes, and no one's been able to figure out his in and out style where he lunges forward and darts out of range. He doesn't throw many long combinations, he mostly relies on 1-punch and 2-punch combinations, but his unusual style paired with his athleticism makes it very hard for opponents to get reads. Tony Ferguson. Anybody who watches the UFC knows about Tony Ferguson, and he may be the weirdest fighter in the entire UFC's history. Whether it comes to his super unorthodox striking, where sometimes he'll turn his back to his opponent or throw elbows from unusual angles, but his fighting isn't the only unusual thing. He's probably made up more moves than any other fighter in UFC history. He's thrown punches to the leg, he's thrown sand at his opponents. Tony Ferguson's done it all, and Tony Ferguson's unusual style is actually what got him so far in the UFC in the first place. On his run to the top, fighters were overwhelmed by all the techniques Tony Ferguson had.